welcome back to the Jac and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews.
That's right.
Today, Ready to Love Reunion.
Part 1.
Part 1. Uno.
Off the chain.
Yeah, it was a little bit off the hook. Tommy asked some of the right questions that we wanted to hear.
Yes.
Now, did we get all the answers that we wanted to get?
No.
No.
Nope.
Some of it cut and splice? Definitely.
Yes.
But, hey, let's get started.
Alright, so Tommy starts, just a little general overview, welcomes everybody there. And I want to say this first, and then we'll come back to the rest. So everybody's there except for Tressa.
Yes.
And Tressa sent in a video. Tressa is not there because she tested positive for COVID. And so she obviously can't be there with the other cast members.
Correct.
But she gave them a nice little greeting, how much she appreciated everybody and getting to know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And she made some lifelong friends. And she said after this, she's going to be dating differently and definitely not giving the cookie away.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I really wanted to see Tressa be there, and I hope they do it in part 2 to address some of the issues that Tressa had on the show. And we may not get it because there was still the issue of, I would love to see her answer the question, or while the castmates are there, was she on there because she was a big girl? Was she targeted? Why did some of the men just treat her like a friend? Now, we know some of the interviews that we've done in the past, some guys didn't want any more kids. And Tressa didn't want any more kids. So that eliminated a lot of people right then and there. Because she didn't want any more kids. She was fine with having her own, her daughter that she has now. So, I just was interested to see some of the questions, her and even Dietrich interaction that happened on the show if she was at the reunion. Maybe we get that in part 2. We'll see.
Yeah. So, we'll get that out of the way first because that was easy. But Tommy talks about, what brought people to the show. He was talking to Liz and Jason. Well, at least they're the ones that answered that they showed. And so Liz basically said it was time. It was time for me to find somebody and do it a different kind of way. And Jason said he was there because probably like a lot of people, you've been picking the wrong person. And so you kind of want some help along the way, and so that's why they came on the show. And so
I think that too, and plus some of the answers that he couldn't show on the broadcast because of some of the interviews that we've done. Some people were recruited. Some people didn't know about the show. Their friend told them about the show. They went on it because it was an opportunity. So it wasn't on it because for love. So Liz and Jason probably was on there actually to find love. So some other couples that they was there asking people probably was there just because somebody else asked them to be there. Right.
And so Tommy starts the reunion also talking about how basically this was the season of curveballs. And so one of the first curveballs, like on that first episode, he threw like 2 curveballs. But the first curveball he talked about was bringing my man Chris, KG Smooth, back.
KG Smooth.
Yes. And, he talked to him about this being another opportunity for him. They showed some clips when he came back, and Harry was like, it's KG. And Amber talking about the fact that all the ladies kind of swarmed to him because obviously if you watched the show, you were familiar with him. So he wasn't unknown to them, because if they peeped the show. And then
listen to him on the radio. They listen to him at night.
And we also found out, I can't remember who we interviewed that was telling us this, but the people from the resort and this season, the regular Houston season, they all kind of got recruited, auditioned at the same time. And they just got divvied up separately. But all of them were from Houston, and they were all in one big pool, but they just got divvied up between the 2 shows.
And then,
so if you didn't get picked for one, you went to the other.
And we see the clip of Amber where she's talking about, she really was interested in KG at the time. When he first came on there. But again, she started to grow with him and realized that, hey, this could be something here. And
then they showed a clip where Ron, we'll get into that some more. Like, Ron is messy. So it was a clip of Ron talking about, KG is kind of a niche market kind of guy, and he's probably looking for a niche market kind of girl. It's a particular girl he's looking for, like, your average, everyday, whatever. Like, Ron's a mess.
Yeah. We get there.
But so Tommy talked to KG about, what made you want to come back, and he said, I was open when y'all asked me about coming back. I was open to coming back and to getting a second chance because, obviously the last time it didn't work out so good for me. And he said this time I determined to do differently. I was going to date other people. Even though we saw for the most part, and in the end he was focused on Amber, he did date other people.
Yeah, they just didn't show that. He dated some other people. He went out with Chrysanthemum once. He went out with I believe went out with Stacy a couple of times. So it was different people that he went out with that he just didn't. And then he was open to going out with different people.
Yeah, but he said ever since the brunch, Amber had stood out to him, and she was at the forefront. And as far as Amber, when it comes to Chris, what was it that attracted her to him, or what did she like about him? Is that he was genuine. They had a genuine connection. He's just a good dude. She said he's caring, he's amazing, and obviously they've been dating, and for them communication has been key. They've been communicating a lot and still dating.
Yeah, Tommy asked the question, y'all still together? And they still, at the time of the reunion,
yes,
they still dating, they still together, they were still rocking strong. And hey, they even had kind of a matching type of outfit type thing going on. And you can see it was genuine care and concern that's there.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for Chris to come from Naya at Ready to Love season 3 to be where he at with Amber. To me, it was a great come up. It's a good redemption story. Yeah,
and as a side note, she is something else too. Because I don't know if y'all follow her on Instagram or happen to see, but she talked about the fact that, I was on 2 seasons.
Season 3 and 4.
Season 3 and 4. My name came up so much in season 4, like I was on there too. Well, they really actually didn't call your name.
Did they?
Necessarily.
Kind of a little bit. They talked
but most
about
of the time they talked about it, but they didn't call your name.
Well, we called her name, so she guess she's on this podcast, this show too, right?
Just because she made that comment.
Nah, you out there, we love you. I really do like her.
Oh yeah, she cool peoples, but I was like, she is funny to me.
Yeah.
Tell me something. Yeah, I was on that show too. Okay.
Man, but KG Smooth and Amber, I do think that their committed relationship, I think it'll work. I do think this is one of the couples that will stay together for a minute. On Ready to Love. We haven't had too many successful couples that stayed together, actually from the show. Now, people who broke off the show and met somebody else that was on the show and they got together, but actually on the show, they ended the show. If they make it, they'd be one of the only ones.
Yeah. So I'd be surprised. And so then we kind of start going into the direction of one of the biggest triangles, squares, not a throuple, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Tommy says, let's just go ahead and deal with the Kyra. And we see a clip of Kyra and Liz, David, and Dietrich when they went on a basketball date, and he made a comment that after that they almost had to change the name of the show to Ready to Love Kyra.
Yeah, because we know from the men's deliberation, everybody chose Kyra that one episode. Everybody. We know Joel chose him because he was kind of mad at Venetia, whatever the case may be, and a lot of that was none of it was gameplay. It's just the fact that everybody liked Kyra at the time. I think she was genuine, she was honest. She's beautiful lady, and I think everybody was feeling it. And Jason was surprised that so many men in the room chose Kyra.
Well, AJ was too. When we interviewed AJ, he said that too. He said, if I had known that deliberation was going to go like it was, I would have said, I think he said Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, he said Chrysanthemum.
I would have said Chrysanthemum. He said, because, then I would have saved her.
Then it would have put Liz and Venetia in the box to be eliminated.
Right. And that's the only thing. But yeah, he
said, but he's, and you can watch the video, and we'll post the tag. What he said and mentioned again, he had to go first. He, in that situation on that deliberation, he went first, and because he went first in that deliberation, he said Kyra. And when he said Kyra, everybody else said Kyra. But if he would have known how it went at the end, he was last, he would have said somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's some of the gameplay that goes on during that time. You remember that in that situation. That was after Stacy had gotten eliminated. So Chrysanthemum might not have went home next.
So Tommy talks to Kyra about how it felt to be pursued by all the men. And she basically said, which makes sense, she said, I was kind of uncomfortable because of the fact that this was said. And then it kind of puts a target on your back. And she felt like that was the breakdown between her and Jason. And she also commented on that had the other women kind of question her motives, which then Alexis chimed in and she said, yeah, I questioned, when all the guys went on talking about, oh, I'm gonna pick Kyra, it was like, is she ready to love or is she just trying to make it to the end?
Yeah, and again, and Kyra said one of the true statements is, why you checking me? You didn't check them. It was they who made a comment. They chose me. I didn't do anything. And Tommy brought it up. He didn't dig into it, or they didn't dig into it. Nobody would have known if. I'm gonna think Ron's a snitch, dog.
Obviously.
Ron's the guy who talks too much, who was in the group. If Ron didn't tell everybody what was going on outside. Remember, you got to read between the lines here. I ain't got nothing against Ron. He's a good dude. But again, he's always on the phone because remember, he said he talks to everybody on the phone, right? He talks to everybody on the phone, so he's sharing information that goes on in the men's deliberation to everybody that's on the phone. See, when you let somebody who's a talker talk, they're telling themselves inadvertently. To me, Ron was a snitch. And Tommy asked the question, and he said, I want to know. But it never came back to it in part one about who was the person that was dropping dimes. Again, it was in my belief. If y'all can prove me wrong or have other evidence, let me know. But in my belief, Ron was the one dropping dimes. Because the guys we interviewed couldn't say it, but we knew it wasn't them.
Right. And then when they went into that first commercial break, Kyra said off to the side when she was talking to the ladies, which I like too, because even in that, when we saw the preview for it, they made it look like she was fussing at Alexis, but she wasn't. She was talking about Ron. And so she said that she was hearing that Ron was the one that every time it was some mess, it came from him. Every time it was some mess, it came from him. She said, which we found out, she said Ron tried to talk to her before the show. She knew him before. Yeah. And he tried to holler at her, and she didn't give him no play. And so she's like, she didn't like it. Where it was like he was acting shady because she didn't give him the time of day. And she was like, don't do that. Like, cause I'm not trying to get with you. You want to try to ruin what I got going on with other people or just ruin me, period? Yeah.
It was good. I think he's a decent dude and try to make him out to be a villain, but his actions really hurt him out. His actions hurt him. Think about
on the reunion.
Even on the reunion, his action and how he wouldn't get the word in edgewise. Think about Alexis being in a room for 2 hours. It's kind of because of Ron. He's like, yo, go up there and wait for him. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we know that she wasn't in the room by herself. She was talking to other women, but yet Ron's house. Ron played a lot in this season. And I guess if he wanted to be, you had to pick a villain on the show. It was, Ron and David running neck and neck.
I'm gonna say Ron more than David. David's really showed at the end for real, like wow. But they didn't really get into that this time. So
yeah, people really hot at David for what he did. So let's move on just a little bit more. We talked about Tressa and her COVID test. Alexis and Kyra, you can see it coming a little tension. Look, there's a tension there. There's something there. They both ladylike, so they're not going to take it there. But there's something there.
And Vernisha said that also after Kyra was made her comment about Ron. Like Vernisha was like, well, we're all good.
Yeah.
The guys Ron might have stirred up the stuff, when it came to amongst the guys. But overall, she was like, and she said it, like I said, it is some tension there between Kyra and Alexis, but they were ladylike. And even when they was talking there, they were pleasant with each other. You know what I'm saying? And the conversation they have later in the episode, overall, it's a little tension there, but they're pleasant about it, But yeah, so the next curveball that Tommy talked about is how he had the double elimination. And so he talks to Khalil and Christian, or as we found out from Dietrich and AJ, Black. They know him as Black. So some people knew Christian. You would not know
Christian was the popular guy.
This season.
Everybody knew Christian.
But everybody knew Christian. Christian's like a popular dude. And he really, came to the conclusion he really got shafted getting eliminated from the beginning.
He didn't get shafted. He wasn't that.
I mean, when I say shafted, like he didn't get a chance to really shine and show out the person that we're hearing that he was. It really didn't show. He didn't have time to show that.
But like he said, he felt comfortable. After Khalil got eliminated, Christian said, I felt comfortable and I didn't really go out and do what I needed to do. And of course, I was the next one to go home. And if you look at it, I mean, if it wasn't Christian, who was it going to be then? Because everybody else was making connections. You know, Ron had 4 or 5 connections, and Joel had about 3 or 4 connections, and
Troy was kissing everybody.
Troy was kissing everybody, and you know, everybody had connections. So when you really, you know, talk about it, he had to be the next one. In essence, that's how it played out to move on.
And so we get to see some clips of when Khalil was there when he showed up and when Christian was there. And so Tommy talks to Khalil, was like, you know, what would you, he was like, I'm looking at you now. What would you have done different? And Khalil said, I definitely would have dressed differently. Because Tommy was like, yeah, you're bringing it today, bro. You got the bling bling, you got the color on your suit. You know, I think they was like, oh, he looked too old. Then he had the gray showing.
But he came in looking like a school teacher, though. I mean, he is a teacher, but he came into the resort looking like, yo, it wasn't his best.
He came looking business,
and it wasn't his best. So so it messed him up a little bit. We found out with Khalil and Christian that both of them have relationships going on. We want to get this off.
Wait, let's not jump the gun just yet. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
So Tommy asked Christian again. So how did you feel? And like he said after Khalil got eliminated, I didn't feel like I was leaving.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know about the curveball. And so like you said, he said, you know, I shouldn't have got comfortable. When he left, he felt like, okay, ain't nobody else leaving, so I'm gonna chill a little bit instead of actively trying to get to know the women. And so he said since then he switched it up some, and so he has been on a few dates.
Did he really switch it up? Well, I'll let you finish, and I'm gonna say why he didn't really switch it up. Go ahead.
When he said he switched it up, meaning like I'm not like chill with it. Like he said, I've been on a few dates, so
he's still chill with it. But go ahead. I digress.
And so Tommy's like, so are you talking to somebody on the show? You know, are you talking to somebody now? He was like, yeah, I'm kind of, sort of. You talking to somebody, and we find out it's I don't know if she says Andre or Andrea.
I think it's Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea. And she's like, oh snap.
Yes.
It's me.
They're talking on the phone. And have been talking on the phone. And this is where I say Christian hasn't switched it up. He's shy that he hadn't even asked a girl out yet. Hadn't even asked her on a date. That's the same thing you was doing when at the mixer. You wasn't being aggressive. That's what they asked you to be. Be a little bit more aggressive. Be a little bit more assertive. And you're talking to this young lady on the phone for several weeks.
And you had like not. But maybe it's because she's not the only person he's been talking to. He said that.
But they urged him, and he got enough confidence to ask her out.
Oh yeah, because Stacy was sitting next to him, like, you know, go ahead, you know,
right,
like she was on the show.
Again, he needed a little bit more of a push. He hasn't changed yet. Now, I'm not saying is anything wrong. He just hasn't learned how to be more aggressive yet. Should have asked a young lady out. And when he did, she says yes.
But even when he asked her out, when he said, you know, I want to know if later on I can have a talk with you and see if you'd be interested in going out with me.
Yeah, because he didn't just
and so really she said yes to talking about going out.
He didn't just
on a date.
Yeah, he didn't ask like, yo, me and you going on a date like next week.
But I get that too. I'm like, y'all ain't gonna force my hand. You want to make TV because you want me to ask her right here. But yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have put that together, but okay.
It works, though.
That was good. And so then we go to Khalil. Same question, you know, what's been going on with you? You seeing somebody, whatever. And he was like, you know, his love life's been going good. He is talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And who's he talking to? Which I think she tried to give us a heads up when we interviewed her. But he's talking to Miss Ida.
He's talking to Ida. She's like, oh, we know.
And when he said that out loud, she was like, oh, I didn't think we was going public.
Yeah,
we going public? You saying that out loud?
You said before we wouldn't go public. Why?
Oh, wow.
Tommy was like, why you ain't want to go public?
Listen.
One thing you do for women, fellas, if you're listening, don't hide your relationship with a woman.
Man, he cringed when she was like, oh, we going public. He cringed like, oof.
Do not hide your relationship.
Don't say that.
If y'all in a relationship, make that bad boy public. Unless you dipping and tipping. Now, if you dipping and tipping,
well, her thing was.
Don't dip and tip.
Her thing was, he said that they weren't going to say anything. But then he said, no, I said we didn't want to say anything to the reunion. And then her thing was, well, before we came into the reunion, you didn't tell me you was going to say it.
He got caught up in the moment. He got caught up in the moment. It wasn't intentional. He got caught up in the moment because Christian was doing his thing. Andrea, he got caught up in the moment. So when Tommy asked the question, he was like, well, okay, is the moment now? So I ain't going to lie because you asked me the question. So let me go ahead and say, yeah.
But she said that he said he didn't want to tell. And Tommy's like, well, why not? She said, why don't you ask him? Tell them why you said you didn't want to tell. And he just kind of laughs it off. I'm like, I want to know this. We said we was going to bring Ida back after the reunion.
We might have to bring him back. So
yeah, definitely.
And find out, again, Khalil has a, yeah, we know who runs that relationship.
Yeah, he was digging himself a hole. Like, Tommy was like, bruh, what's going on? I mean, he just kind of chuckled and was looking real nervous.
He kept digging a hole. He kept digging it deep. So.
So next up, Mr. Messy. I'm sorry. He's messy. We did touch on the Ron thing. Mr. Ron. And mainly the focus was when Alexis went to eliminate him. And how he was like, I thought you was smarter than that. And just his comments were so degrading.
But before we get there, did you see when they showed the clips and the comments she made when they were playing golf? I want a king, I want a spiritual leader, and she was sitting here. She was so disgusting.
You give me that priestly vibe, that kingly vibe. Oh yeah, she was. When she's looking back at the clips of herself saying that, she was shaking her head like
her anointing.
Bro, I was so wrong.
Was off.
You mean her discernment?
Her discernment was off.
No, it might have been right. It's just not for her.
It's just not for her because he wouldn't give me those type of vibes. But nonetheless. We get Ron, he's talking, and Tommy said it. Ron was nasty to her. Now, this is what Ron. They didn't let Ron talk. Ron was trying to say. Ron said that he was doing that because they was talking about AJ. And you can see where production cut and sliced that they never let him finish his story. And that's what I didn't like. They didn't let him finish his story, but he watching the interview with Ron. Ron was like he was talking about the AJ situation.
Well, he did he said it there. He didn't go into full, but his thing was, he was like, you're eliminating me for AJ. I thought you was smarter than that. Because here he comes, he's turning it on at the last minute.
Yeah.
He wasn't all about you before. So now he's turning it on at the last minute trying to stay, and you falling for it.
Yeah, and the production took the clip. I thought you were smarter than that.
Right.
And ran with it. And so, again, when you watch TV, be careful what you see. Everything you hear, what you see is not always in the same context.
Yeah. But regardless of the kind of context he said it, not just there, but on the reunion.
Yeah.
The way he talked to Alexis, Tommy was like, man, in 4 seasons, I've never, ever heard a man talk to a woman like that. And he was like, man, you got to have more respect. He said it was disrespectful. And I think an apology is necessary. Like, you don't talk to nobody like that. And the funniest part was,
he never apologized.
He never actually apologized. He said, I'm going to take accountability for my part. And, and what I did in the situation. But he never apologized.
When you find somebody who doesn't apologize, they don't think nothing wrong with what they did. He not being able to apologize and take accountability for his part, he's already just told you, I'm not sorry for what I said or what went down. Read between the lines. He didn't apologize. Again, it was I'm not apologizing because what I said is what I said, and I meant what I said.
Basically.
But that's what you're saying.
Basically.
And so he meant what he said, and he just let it. And she got to be accountable for her part too. Dog, she went there to do what she was supposed to do, which was eliminated you, and which was hard. This is what thing. If you really look at the show and think about it. They always sent Alexis for the people that she liked to try to eliminate. She went there to AJ. She had to talk to AJ about trying to, when he was on the chopping block. He didn't get eliminated, but she went there. She liked him. When it came to Ron, she talked to Ron about getting eliminated. She was always chosen, and that's one question that she had. She was always chosen to eliminate the people that she liked. which had to be difficult for her. You know what I'm saying? Had to be a hard thing to do because she had to make a decision. You know, Ron just, you know, he went on, and again, the way he treated Alexis, the conversation he had, the tone was degrading. And Tommy said it to him, especially our women, black women. You know, you treating them like, you know, you don't talk to them like that or deal with them in that nature. They've been dealt with that long for so long. You got to give them with respect. It's okay, y'all disagree mutually and go your separate ways. You know, and so then we get Ron and Amber.
Wait, but before that though, because they talked to Ron about because obviously he had a relationship, a connection with Chrysanthemum, and with all that had transpired in the clips, like Tommy was like, you know, how you feel about Ron, you know, and you know what was going on with him, and he said that they played the clip of Ron saying that she was his number one, she was at the top,
right,
and over everybody else. But also he was talking to Alexis at the same time
on that first date.
But it got into why that was an issue with her being at the top, and then you want to put somebody else in. And so Tommy was like, how you feeling about it? She was like, me, I'm not buying none of it, that, you know, I'm at the top, but then here's Alexis.
But can't you have multiple people at the top? He didn't say she was my number one. He said she was at the top. He's at my list. She's up in the top part of the list.
Kind of like AJ said, because AJ said he had like 5.
Right.
And they would always be like, no, you need to pick one. He said, but I like 5 of these in a different
So why do you have to pick one? She's up here, she's not down here. You're in my top 3 or my top 4. You're in my top 5 or whatever the case may be. You're in the top. Not necessarily you're my number one. It's a difference. And I think women, when you talk about women and men, when you look at it, hey, yo, she's in my top, dog.
Well, he said she was the top one.
I don't think the commentary said one. I think he said she was my top. He said top, and it maybe he said top on the reunion, said one on the show.
I don't know. But the trip part is that we find out that he was so serious, or, you know, feeling Chrysanthemum, that Chrysanthemum met his mom.
Now he said this is his explanation. His mama don't live far for him.
Right.
His mama don't live far, so he went over there and Chrysanthemum was with him, and she met the mama. But the other ladies were like, you don't show nobody your mom. Alexis was like, you don't take no girl to your mama unless you serious.
Right.
And so
and she was like, I ain't met his mama, but supposedly we were supposed to be serious or whatever. And you can use the same excuse. Okay, so she don't live far away, and we hanging out. Why I ain't never seen your mama?
I ain't meet your mama. So you don't take no girl to see your mama unless she.
But Ron downplayed it. He said Chrysanthemum seeing his mom, it wasn't that serious, you know. But anyway, and he said he was feeling some type of way because Alexis didn't tell Ron that she had kissed AJ. And that all the kissing that was going on, and with him kissing Amber, and when he kissed Amber, him and Alexis was done. And Alexis was like, no, we weren't done. We had just had a 3-hour conversation, and it was feeling this kind of way. So then for you to go talk about you was kissing Alexis, basically they talked about when in the elimination, he was trying to give her a gut punch. Oh, you eliminate me? Well, I kissed somebody else.
I said, oh, dealing with somebody else. Which at this time, you gotta realize what Ron is like. It's like that child. Oh, you do this to me, I'm gonna do this to you. Good. I'm gonna get you back.
It's bad.
So what happened here? Even with the Amber situation, he even went from, me and Amber went out multiple times. Amber like, no, we didn't. Oh, we went out twice.
She said, no, we didn't.
Oh, we went out once. Dog, and you saw the crowd. You saw everybody say, did he say multiple? He went from multiple to once. All the other contestants like, dog, so they're right there. He's become untrustworthy. You can't even get the story straight, or you're lying. And so it is what it is. You're lying. So if you lie about how many times you actually went out with somebody, what else are you lying about, Ron? What else are you lying about, dog?
Amber basically calls Ron the ish starter.
Yeah.
Like, you started the stuff, you know what I'm saying? And again, a clip outside of, like when they cut, you see Ron and Jason talking to each other, and Ron talking about the whole thing. And Jason tells him in situations like this, we always have to step up and own up what it is that we have done. It's about, I might have done wrong, but okay, so this is what I did wrong.
Yeah.
You know, basically he was just trying to tell. Because Ron tried to throw it off like, can you believe they coming at me? You see what they saying? And Jason was like, well, we got to own up to our part in situations. You're going to have to do that.
Be accountable, bro.
Yeah.
It just is. It's what it is. Just be accountable. If I messed up, I messed up. If I did it, I did it. Hey, you know what? At the time, I thought it was the right decision. It wasn't the right decision. I made a mistake. You know what? I shouldn't have spoke to her like that. Whatever the case may be. You know what? I shouldn't have told the information to that was going on in this room to the other girl, to the girls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is what it is. You know, so he got to be accountable.
Mm-hmm. So the next thing we see is when they come back from the break, Tommy talks about the bromances, the brotherhood.
Let's not. No, it's not bromances. All right, it's brotherhood.
It's a joke. That's why I said brotherhood.
Brothers coming together. Ain't nothing wrong with having brothers when you come together and y'all like dealing with each other. That's what.
You feeling some type of way because I said bromance?
Because my friends and I don't have bromances.
I disagree, but
we have deep conversations.
It's a bromance.
It's a deep conversation.
It's a bromance.
Deep conversations.
Did they talk about their soap opera? WWE.
Don't mess with us.
Anyway,
talk about life.
So yeah, they talked about how the guys came together, and somebody made that point. It was like, you know, and this was something Edwin said before too. You know, you come to the show looking for love, but you also find out some things about yourself, and you gain some friends. Mm-hmm. And you know, just they went to the scene where Jason was talking about Joel coming to help him move, and how he's such a good guy, and all the other guys chimed in. They showed the clip of Jason talking about how it was different for him to have people like celebrate him and talk well about him. That's not something he was used to. And you know, the brothers shedding tears and everything. And Joel talked about, like, I'm not an emotional guy, but you know, sometimes it's tears of joy because it's like the bonds that they've made. It really it's good when brothers can get together. You know, Tommy talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, and Tommy said, you know, as brothers, when we get in the car, you never know if you're coming home or you get stopped or things of that nature. You're hoping that your day worked out well because you're at your target. You know, so he talked about that coming together, which is great. And we see a little bit later where Stacy brings in. I'm gonna bring it up now.
What a contrast!
The contrast
with freaking Frack.
With freaking Frack. How is it that all the brothers can be tight, but now is it?
And it's okay and it's celebrated.
And celebrated. So now the issue with me and Chrysanthemum being so tight. And I don't think it's an issue. I think the issue is that when you call Joel wasn't hanging out with Chris, and Chris was next door. I mean, right beside him. Mm-hmm. So when you call Stacy, from what we heard, not saying no names from people, that Chrysanthemum was right there. Yeah,
it was times when he called one and the other was there. And it was like odd too, because I'm talking to both of them. So I'm going to call you and talk to you and hang up and call her. And she right there. It
doesn't work that way. I think that was a lot of issue. That's a lot of issue with the other guys. They felt that they were too close together. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, of course, we've seen this in the past season. We saw Winter and Joy, who was real close together. So there's nothing wrong with having bonds in relationships or building relationships there. It's just to understand that you're on a dating show. But what Chrysanthemum said was great. Like, we never shared text messages.
Because David brought that up. He said, I think that was the part that kind of rubbed the guys the wrong way. It's like, are they sharing conversations between each other? What we talked about, that kind of put people on edge. And that's what Chrysanthemum was like. We didn't share those conversations. We didn't share text messages. It was none of that. Like, us bonding together, we ain't spending our time talking about y'all.
Right. And, you know, and it bounced. And, you know, he said, and David said he bounced out. But I think what made this one worse is that they were at home. There wasn't a resort. We saw the relationship on the resort because everybody was forced to be together for these amount of weeks. Now, when you at home doing your own thing, you're like, why is she spending time with her? Or why are they hanging out together? You know what I'm saying? They didn't know each other prior to this. And so it becomes that contention with the cast. And that's what happened.
And Chrysanthemum said, to answer Tommy's question, she did feel like it might have been intimidating to the guys, which they didn't really understand, but...
Yeah. And they're both dating.
Yes, and the person or persons, well, we're going to say a person because it's specific the way they said it. So the person that Stacy is dating has met Chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
just because. Yeah. And so Chrysanthemum says, yes, I'm dating.
Multiple people.
Several people. You know, I'm living my life, you know. So, which...
And then they're not dating each other. Tommy said I wasn't implying that, but I guarantee some of y'all out there thought they were dating each other. They're not dating each other. They're not. They're having dating other people. So.
All right. So next up to bat, Tommy talks to AJ.
He talks to AJ.
Yes, we're starting to get into this triangle situation, and he starts by first from the end, kinda, and going backwards. Because he talks about the fact that how did you go from kissing Alexis and being so close to her and then having to let her go?
Yeah.
Like, how'd you get there? And he said, I got to that point the same like other people. You know, things change and, you know, you have ebbs and flows or whatever. And so at that point, like he said, when we interviewed him, he was the only person at that point that really had to make a choice. Like, the decision was his.
It was tough.
The decision was his. And I'll jump ahead a little. And he said something that Tommy said to him really influenced his decision. He was like, who is it that when they walk in a room, you feel like, hey, that's my girl. Like, that's who I want to be with. And he said that was what influenced his decision.
At the end of the day, it was Kyra. When Kyra walked in the room, he was like, you know what? That's my girl. And I'm not even mad at that decision. If that's what he chose, then that's what he, you know, when she walks in a room and you can say that's your girl, guess what? That's what you have. And I'm not even mad.
And that's my girl, meaning that's who I can see myself being with. That's who I can't imagine them not being in the picture.
And I'm not
in that kind of way.
And that's what he said. So again, you can't be mad at him for making that decision when it came down to Alexis and Kyra, which I never was mad at that decision for his standpoint. Because again, we're not in that situation. It had to be a tough decision because you like these two different people. They both do something to you emotionally, and so you look at it like, okay, how did each one makes you feel different when you're with them? So it's like, okay, who do I want to deal with? And so he picked Kyra, and you know they go into the whole Alexis situation. Why?
About kissing Alexis, and basically AJ was like, it was later in the game when I kissed Alexis, and I had actually already kissed Kyra. You know, and
we was all kissing everybody,
right? Basically. And Alexis explained that when she said that basically that moment turned the tide, it changed the game. She said it wasn't just the kiss. It was the kiss and his words. And what he said then. What he said, the whole sentiment of what was going on. And the fact that he said, I'm in pursuit of you. That he let her know that you're in the running, basically.
After he told her, shut up. He said, let me shut you up. That's what he said. Read it.
But that's right. But that's a good kind of shut you up.
No, let me shut you up. You talk too much. Or let me make you be quiet and let me kiss you. Let me save myself.
No, he meant let me shut you up. Like let me shut that down.
Yeah.
That whole thought process.
And let me shut you down as I'm in. Let me save myself. And insert myself into this picture here. And let you know that I got you, boo.
They talk about the fact that you know, AJ had all these, you know, these things going on or whatever. And he said, I had all different connections because they questioned whether he was genuine, you know, if he really meant it. And he said, yes, I had all different connections with different people, which he also said when we interviewed him, which he said he'll put the link. When we interviewed him, he had several people that he was feeling. But again, he felt them all in different ways. It was all different connections and it was genuine. The way he vibed with all of them was different. With all the girls he was interested in. And then, like you said, they talked about the thing at the get together, and how what he said to Alexis was, I want to talk to you and see about, you know, how we're gonna go with this thing, you know. And he went and she was waiting for a while to have this conversation.
But she wasn't waiting in a room by herself. She was waiting with other girls. And when you say he told her to go in a room, it makes you seem like she was just sitting in. I think about high school movies when they tell them to go sit in a room and sitting there, she's sitting on the bed and just sitting there waiting, twiddling her thumbs. No, there was other people in the room that was having a conversation. He did finally get it back to her. So
yeah, but in the end, he said he picked Kyra because he felt like it could have been more to him and Kyra. And so that's why he had to end up, you know, letting Alexis down pretty easy. But they talked about that too. Like, did Alexis know when he came to her that he had just come from eliminating Kyra, but then changing his mind? And he said he did tell her.
Yeah. She
said she didn't remember, and she said it might have been just being caught up in the moment, and everything just seemed like it was a blur. And obviously her feelings were hurt. You know,
she was devastated.
You know, obviously her feelings were hurt, so that'll help you not remember. Oh, he did something, and he probably said it in passing. I'm sure he didn't dwell on it, which is probably why she didn't remember
either. I'm going to dwell on the fact that I chose somebody else over you, and I got to eliminate you now. Mm-hmm. And he probably didn't say it. He said it probably after he eliminated it. And now her mind is already. We saw when she got eliminated. Her mind was already like blown. So anything else he said after he said, you know what, you're not ready to love, it was like I'm turning you out. I mean, let's be honest. Anything, because I'm sure he didn't start the conversation with that.
But she did give him credit. She said in watching it and talking to him, she did see that it was a struggle. Mm-hmm. And I think that made her feel a little bit better. That it was a struggle for him to pick between the two of them.
I think it was a lot of factors. Then I think the son came into a factor. The kid, that's the daddy. I mean, all kind of things come into factor when you messing with somebody or you're going to be committed to somebody that already had a family. Whether good, bad, or different, whether you want it or not, whether you love her or not, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And some people just can't handle it.
Mm-hmm. And so to continue with the love triangle, Tommy then turns his attention to Kyra and said, you know, how did you feel about being in this love triangle? And she said, the thing about me is when I'm focused on somebody, when that's who I'm going after, I fall hard. And so her thing was, I knew AJ already coming into it. I did want to, kind of go that way because I was familiar with him. But I had spent most of my time being focused on Jason. All my focus was on Jason. And so she wasn't sure if because of that, she had gotten to know AJ well enough to say, hey, I want to go further in this with you. Because I had been looking at Jason, and they'll touch on that later. But I know that was a gut punch for her, too, finding out that Jason had picked Liz.
Jason picked Liz.
You know, and so they both say that they left the process not committed, which is what everybody did at the end, committed to like being in a serious relationship, but that they were going to try to get to know each other some more and continue dating. And so they did continue dating after that day. And she said that she had a trip planned before all of this. She had a 2-week trip planned out of the country that she was going on. And so she said that when she went on her trip, while she was out of the country, that she and AJ kept in touch. They did a lot of talking and everything. And she talked to him every day.
But while she talked to him, AJ was still, I didn't say dipping because the way he explained it was he was in a relationship, but they wouldn't commit it. So he asked Alexis out. Him and Alexis went out.
Right. And Kyra said she found this out when she got back. She got a call from Alexis and said that she'd been out with AJ and that they had been kicking it thereafter. But Alexis explained what it was. She said her birthday was coming up.
Yep.
And that at the end of the show, when she talked to AJ, he knew about her birthday coming up and they were going to hang out. Mm-hmm. And so she DM'd him about her birthday.
Yep.
And he was like, hey, she asked him, was it real? Did you mean everything that you said? And he was like, yes, I meant it.
Yeah.
I just had to make a choice. And she said with the conversation they had, her walls were down. And he said, I want to take you out for your birthday. To show you, just what I meant, what I said.
Yeah. And
not necessarily that I'm trying to date you, but just to show you that I did care for you.
He took her out.
And I was genuine.
And he kissed her.
Yeah, he took her out and they kissed and they took birthday selfies. And she was like, I got the evidence to prove it.
I got receipts.
Yeah. But AJ's thing, like you said, was me and Kyra weren't committed.
Wasn't committed.
Like saying, you're the only person I'm going to talk to. So I don't see a problem with taking her out for her birthday. I don't either.
The problem is him and Kyra never set any boundaries, alright? And what happened...
And he didn't tell her. She heard it from Alexis.
Right, and he didn't tell her. So when you don't set boundaries in relationships, everything's fair game. And it shouldn't be, but when you're committed, here's the boundaries. We're dating. Let's make this... Are we exclusively dating each other? Are we dating each other, or we can see other people? What are we doing here? I think you have to set boundaries in relationships. When you're dating, in today's time, it has to be, okay, here's the boundaries, here's the guidelines, here's what we're going to do. All right.
Just so everybody's informed.
Just so everybody's informed and everybody's on the same page. So you're not catching feelings or hurting anybody's feelings. And they never set boundaries. And he went out with Alexis, he kissed her. And, I mean, Kyra, is he bothered by it?
Because then Tommy asked straight up, which one of these women are you interested in?
Yeah.
And so
he answered.
AJ says it's not Alexis.
It's not Alexis.
I'm interested in Kyra. And Alexis wasn't offended. She was like, I mean, I knew this. I know what time it is, you know. And so being that in the end he was interested in Kyra and had cut Alexis off.
Well, Alexis cut him off too.
Well, but I mean, telling her, you know, you're not ready to love. He said, I did. I took it real tough. That she couldn't make a decision for me, you know. And
she wasn't ready to commit. I mean, they're looking at committed. To me, are we good to date? Yes, we're dating. Am I committed to loving you? Dog, it's been 8 weeks, 9 weeks. I mean, some people say love in 9 weeks. Some people say love in 8 weeks. You know. But,
and that's what AJ said too. He said the thing that bothered him is, so you told me here, no, I'm not gonna be committed. And he said his thing was, you left me at the point where I was ready to be committed to you, but you weren't committed. And so then you come back expecting me to still be in that same place where you left me. And I'm not in that same place. I'm ready. I'll date you, but I'm not at that committed point because you weren't there. You
try to keep me on the leash here to stay at this place. I can't stay at this place because my heart was broken. I mean, he may not say it, and I said it for him. His heart was broken. Look, we as men, our heart get broken. We may not be as emotional as some, you know, when your heart is broken. But he was hurt. He was genuinely hurt, and she wasn't ready to commit to him. Why? Because she still was committed. She still had relations. She still liked Jason.
Well, but the biggest thing is Kyra's thing in making a decision when it came to Jason or AJ was, I'll make my decision in my time, and I'm not ready to make a decision to commit to being in a serious relationship with, which I'm curious to know then what would make you want, and maybe it's the time frame, what would have you to where you want to say I'm going to be in a serious relationship with
Jason had not chose Liz, Kyra would have committed to Jason. There's no
I don't know, because when he asked her when they were there and he asked her, she couldn't say it.
Because she was still having hope for AJ. If AJ would have said, you know what? If AJ would have told her, you know what, Alexis is my number one. I'm going with Alexis.
But don't nobody want to be the default. So you're only gonna commit to me because you know AJ's off the market?
Reason that you don't commit because you believe there's a chance still with both of them.
I don't know that she would have went with Jason.
She would have committed to Jason.
No.
Look at it on the last episode before the reunion. She really wanted Jason. She thought Jason was it. Jason was there. She thought Jason was the number one. But she said, I'm not going to make this decision to commit to you because Jason wants me to make this decision. But I'm not making it. Again, she doesn't like to be pushed. So if Jason hadn't pushed her to try to make a decision, and AJ would have chose Alexis.
That's the whole point of the show.
If AJ would have chose Alexis, she would have chose Jason outright. Hey, let me know what you think. If you agree with me, leave a comment in the comment section. If you disagree with me, leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know if AJ would have chose, if AJ would have chose Alexis, would Kyra have chose Jason?
But we need to talk about, is that fair? Again, it's like it's second fiddle. You only picking me because this one didn't. I don't never want to get picked.
She only picked AJ because, think about it.
I know, and I'm saying it's not right on either side.
AJ was second fiddle to her.
Don't nobody want that.
If AJ knew that she was going to say no, he would have chose Alexis.
Don't nobody want that. But we ended the reunion on, is she still interested in AJ? So when we come back for part 2, that's going to be the answer to, they probably won't start with that.
Answer to your question.
But that's the question they left us hanging on.
That's the question they hanging on. They hanging tough together. They still hanging tight together, just letting y'all know.
We shall see.
We shall see. But anyway, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Once again, Radio Love Reunion, part number 1. We got one more week, y'all. And we'll see what happens in part number 2. We shall see. Yay. So have a great night or a great day whenever you watch this. Enjoy, and we'll catch you down the road.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.